Now the one side of the answer is there is one who is, who doesn't put any question, who doesn't give any answer. That is what? Who is simply is, Bhagavan is saying. Or is it the other who does not know what he is? This is the troublemaker. He says, I know I am. And again he says, I do not know what I am. So he is the one who claims knowledge and also claims ignorance. So Bhagavan here is asking, who is this? That is what is my inquiry to you. Inquire who is making this statement that I know I am, but I do not know what I am. Inquire, says Bhagavan. Now, this is the most fundamental of Bhagavan's approach we have seen. The reason is very simple. I was listening to Nachurana's talk on Bhagavad Gita of chapter 18, wherein very beautifully the Bhagavan, Krishna says what worship is. He says worship is total surrender. Only when we totally surrender and the Ishvara takes care of everything, that is real worship, he says. Now, how do we totally surrender? That is the most important question. We may make a statement, I have surrendered to you. And does it really entitle us that we have surrendered? No. Now, Krishna goes on to explain there how our swabhava has to be surrendered. Like there is, here also Bhagavan is saying there is one who is, there is one nature of ours which is the reality, who is. There is another nature of ours which is the Prakriti nature, like I am so and so, in the sense I have a certain nature. Like I may be, when I get an opportunity to quote something, I get excited. When I get an opportunity to discuss about business, I may get excited. I may not get excited in something else. So there are certain prakritis or nature of ours. It would be something like that. I make a resolution to get up every day and do exercise, and I may not do it. That is again my nature. I may find logical, very justifying answers why I couldn't do it, and I may continue to prolong it. That is my nature, let us say. So Bhagavan is saying here, Krishna is saying here, that there are two natures of ours. The one nature of ours is the truth, the Purusha, the self, who is, Bhagavan is also saying, who is, whom actually we don't have any problem. Because when we go to that state, when everything is absorbed, all this nature is absorbed, the world is absorbed, all the divisions is absorbed in the sleep, there we have absolutely no trouble in the deep sleep, isn't it? That's why there is no such questions of sadhana, no questions of siddhi, because the truth which alone is the natural swabhava of ours, there is no problem there. It is only this when this prakriti swabhava of our rises and interacts on a moment-to-moment basis in this waking state. Some we like, some we don't like, some we want to change, but it doesn't seem to change. Some we hold on, putting effort, and yet we don't find any result. Like any sadhana we may be doing, we may not feel that we are progressing. So this prakriti, swabhava, that is driven by the self itself. It is how we are manufactured, we could say. Like Nochurana gives a beautiful example when anybody would come to Bhagavan Bhagwan, any question they would put, Bhagwan would ask, to whom is this? Who am I? To who is asking this question? Whether that person has come from reading a lot of spiritual books, or whether he has come now with no knowledge of the spirituality, or whether it is animals, he would only teach that. And when asked, Bhagavan would say, this is all I know, this is what I can teach. So, talking about this nature and how it has to be used to surrender, Churana gave a very beautiful example which I want to share here. So he said that one doctor approached him when he was in Kerala, and he is a very humble doctor who has taken seva as his means, and one day he was having a conversation with Nachurana, and he asked him, I'm paraphrasing, I'm not telling exactly what the conversation which happened, and he asked Nachurana, like, what is that sadhana that I need to do? And Nachurana says, see, often the answer is within the person himself. It is just that something kindles it to become, and it becomes ease in practicing it. So it is part of his nature, his swabhava prakriti. That is what has to be brought out, says him. And in Nachurana, and in that conversation, he says, everything you have to see it as Bhagavan. The best way to do that is every patient who comes to you with a vyadi, you can look at it as your cure as one pushpam to the Bhagavan who has come with some vyadi to you. Suddenly the doctor's face lit up. Probably he was practicing it all along, and all he needed was Nachurana to affirm from outside that is the best way to do the sadhana. So that, see, the most trouble that we find, the reason why Nachurana brings out this is the most trouble that we find is, it is our dealing with our nature. We feel that it doesn't seem to change no matter how much sadhana I do, how much meditation I do, it seems to remain the same. That is our problem. And that is what we want to transform, and we seem to fail again and again. We keep an ideal like Bhagavan or ideal like somebody else and try to see, we can't be like that. My swabhava is not transforming no matter how much sadhana we are trying to do. But Nachurana was saying that swabhava has been given to you. And Bhagavan also says to Mother, Ishvara himself is sitting in the heart of everybody and playing the role that he has to play. What has to happen will happen. What is not to happen will not happen. So, but we don't. Therefore, what Bhagavan is asking us to do, all these actions, all these swabhavas of ours is rising in the form of thought. He says, offer it as pushpam to Bhagavan, offer it back to the self in the heart, and do the action. And narrating the story, he gives another beautiful example. Nachurana says that Arjuna, when he wanted to get Pashupatastra, he did many years of puja to Shiva, then he stood on one feet and did japa, then he did Rudra, he did many things, and Shiva would not appear. Then one day Shiva himself appeared as a normal, as a hunter, and we know the story that he sent a pig and they both shot the arrow, and then they got into a fight, and then Shiva kindled Arjuna saying, you what kind of a person are you? You are a sannyasi. What do you know about shooting arrows and killing a pig and all of it? I am a hunter, I know it. And Arjuna's ego, which is his swabhava, which was that he is a best archer, was struck by Shiva. And that is the connection, Nachurana says, that best archer, that which was given to him by Ishvara himself, that is the way for him to reach Shiva. So Arjuna immediately took a bow and said, let's come on, let us fight. And they both fought, and obviously Arjuna um, lost. And then, when that Swabhava was also removed or went into failure or surrendered, then when he looked up, he saw only Shiva standing there. And then Shiva said, all other tapas, everything was not the way. This is the prakriti that you need to offer them. See, the ego is in this prakriti, in this nature of ours. If we surrender that, that is all that we need to do. Then the Shivam prakriti shines automatically. So therefore, whatever thoughts which come to us on a day-to-day basis and moment-to-moment basis, because of our nature, we need not have to feel so sorry about it or feel bad about it, which is what we do as sadhakas. All we need to do is, oh, it is an opportunity for me to offer it back to Shiva. That is what Bhagavan has given in the form of Atma Vichara. So happily, like how Arjuna's bow and arrow opportunity or the opportunity to fight with Shiva, which was his Prakriti, was given. Like that, we are the thinkers. Let us say that is the thinking opportunity we gave, and we are offering the thinker himself to Bhagavan with the inquiry, who am I? And when the thinker is offered, and there is no more thinker left, no more thoughts left, then the Sahaja Prakriti, that who is, which Bhagavan is saying, will himself rise and shine. That is the path of Atma Vichara that Bhagavan has given. Therefore, this inquiry, who says this? That I know I am, but I do not know what I am. I know I am is also the knower, thinker. I do not know what I am is also the knower, the thinker. Both has to be offered to the one who is. And that is how Atma Vichara makes us offer everything. Rather, becoming how much, rather getting into a depression that there is so much of thoughts that I need to offer, we should happily see that it is an opportunity given by Bhagavan to us, we as the thinkers. That is our identity. To offer that identity of us as thinker to that which is, who is, and therefore happily offer it to his lotus feet. The immense grace of Bhagavan, with which alone we have come to this most direct path of Atma Vichara. No matter how many thoughts rise, no matter whatever is the nature of our thoughts, no matter how many of them come, we can offer it happily to that lotus feet of Bhagavan who has said, only offer everything. And one day you will offer yourself also. And when this knower or this separate I know or I do not know, this separate entity is also offered, the one who is alone shines. Until such time, let us continuously offer and let us enjoy offering ourselves to the one truth which alone is. The immense grace of Bhagavan for the next 20 minutes, let us do Atma Vichara. Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana. Over to Sharda Akka.
Namo Ramana, prostrations to Ramana, shining as the self in all beings. With the immense grace of the self, manifest as Ramana, we, in this part of the satsang on self-inquiry, are meditating on the verses in Ramana Gita, which is a compilation in Sanskrit of answers given by Bhagavan to various seekers of truth. The compilation has been made in 18 chapters by Ganapati Muni. And we are meditating on the 7th chapter, which is a chapter on self-inquiry. And in this chapter, Bhagavan has answered the question of Karshni as to what is self-inquiry. He has said that self-inquiry is inquiry into the source of the I thought. And further, Karshni had also asked him, what is the benefit to be attained from self-inquiry, and whether other paths will lead to the same benefit. So Bhagavan had also answered that the benefit of self-inquiry is Sarva Klesha Nivritti, the destruction of all sorrow. Sarva Klesha Nivritti Syat Phalam Atma Vicharataha Phalanam Avadhisoyam Asti Netodhikam Phalam. He says to us that self-inquiry is the answer, the solution, whereby all the sorrow that we are facing, all the anxieties that we undergo in life, they're all completely washed away. How is he giving us this assurance? Because every problem that we face, every difficulty that arises in our life, all sorrow is for the individual. It is for me. Sorrow is for me. Grief is for me. Fear is for me. Of course, I feel joy is also for me. Comfort is also for me. But this comfort is not there permanently. Otherwise, we would not be seeking any alternative in our life. We would be quite happy, quite satisfied if our life was comfortable all the time, if there was no discomfort whatsoever. What about people having a very comfortable life? They also have some discomfort. Maybe the situational discomfort is not there, but in God's scheme, there is an internal discomfort. In our then Balakendra or Yuvakendra, there was a question which came up. The question was, supposing for a moment, let us just imagine that everything that we have desired has been given to us, that all our desires are fulfilled at this point of time. Everything that we could have desired, everything that we could possibly desire further also, if we could make a list of all these desires and put it before the divine, and the divine says, Tathastu, given, everything that you have sought, everything that you may seek has been given to you at this moment. What further? What after that? Will the mind stop seeking? Will the mind stop seeking? Does the mind ever stop seeking? No matter how full the cup is, no matter how many desires have been granted. And if, supposing, we may seek that, oh, I don't want the situation to change. Does an unchanging situation keep us satisfied? Does it really satisfy us? We get bored. We get anxious about whether this situation would change, whether it's too good to be true. In some way or the other, the mind creates disturbance. It creates anxiety. It does not allow equanimity. And that is good, because that is what takes us within. That is what makes us understand that no matter what is given to us from outside, no matter what is given to this individual entity, there can never come a point of contentment, a point of fullness, because by the very nature of its existence, it is incomplete. The individuality is incomplete. It has a boundary. And the moment it has a boundary, the rest, everything that is outside the boundary is not I. So this I, it has to be incomplete. Anything that has a boundary has to be incomplete. So the I is incomplete, it has a boundary, and its joys will never reach a point of fullness. It can never reach a point of satisfaction except by breaking this boundary, by transcending this boundary, by understanding that the boundary is illusory. There is no real boundary. Either that, or recognizing that there is no real satisfaction outside. It is all the Lord's play, and surrendering completely to the Lord. Completely. In which case, again, the boundary disappears. The individual boundary ceases to matter. And in that way, it disappears in total surrender. So the only way to be really joyous is to transcend the limitation of identity. And so long as the identity continues to exist in any form whatsoever, even if it continues to exist as a very beautiful identity, as a very magnificent identity, as an enormous identity, as the Vishwarupa itself, even then there cannot be cessation of sorrow. There cannot be cessation of klesha, of anxiety. But if one can transcend this identity by getting back to its source, then at one go, all the problems have been removed. Bhagavan says that the triple karma dies. All the karma. What is the karma? The past, present, and the future. The agami, sanchita, and the prarabdha. They all disappear. All kinds of bondages disappear at one go when freedom from identification happens. So, this is the fruit of self inquiry, says Bhagavan. In fact, in the Anubandham, people have asked, how can it be that the prarabdha also goes away? Because it's already a ball set in motion. It's like the fan which is moving, it has to stop. Even though the switch may be put off, the momentum will carry it forward. And Bhagavan asks, when a man dies, can one of his 3 wives remain without being widowed? Would not all his 3 wives become widowed at one go? All the karma will disappear at one go. Phalanam avadis soyam asti netodikam phalam. There is no fruit higher than the fruit of self-inquiry, because we are constantly seeking fruits of our actions. We are acting in order to attain some fruit from our action. And therefore, Bhagavan says there cannot be a higher fruit than this fruit, because it frees us from the very need to seek any further fruit. All seeking comes to an absolute halt. And that's why Bhagavan has said, Krityamasti kim swastitim yataha. If one is abiding in the self, what is there for such a one to do? What remains for him to do? And in Ramana Sahasranama, Bhagavan is called the Sarva Aramba Parityagi. He doesn't begin anything at all. Whatever has been begun already, that keeps on going on. Or if we see if somebody else begins something, he helps them to complete it. It may be a shloka, it may be some other work. So he is completing things already begun, already set in motion. He's not starting anything new, because there is no need for him to start anything new. There's no need for him to make a beginning of anything. But for us, we keep on making beginnings. Although we have already made so many beginnings and so many tasks may remain unfinished, we still love to make another new beginning in the hope of something or the other. So there is the need to begin and the need to continue, sustain things. But everything is done. For one who is abiding in the self, everything is complete. He is called Krita Kritya. There's nothing further left to be done. For one who is a Jivan Mukta, there is absolutely nothing further left to be done. There are no fruits to be sought. So Bhagavan says, Asti netodhikam phalam. This is the highest fruit. If we recognize that the truth of this statement, that self-inquiry is the answer to all problems, then our attitude to self-inquiry and our engagement with self-inquiry would become something totally different. It will take on a completely different dimension. Because now we think of self-inquiry as one part of our life. We think of self-inquiry as a practice to attain self-knowledge. We may give 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours. Even intermittently, if we are trying to practice self-inquiry in the midst of our daily course also, we will may be able to give a lot of time, but it is not the all-consuming action or the all-consuming solution for us. The need to think, the need to act arises because we believe that in those actions and in those thoughts there lie some fruits for us. Some fruits which cannot be provided by self-inquiry. Does it mean that we will become still, we will not act? This worry comes to us very often. Paul Brenton also has been worried, and many devotees, many disciples are often worried. How will I act? Should I act? Should I not act? The answers will come automatically if self-inquiry is held on to as the basis, as the real solution. All other things will happen, but they will not happen with that kind of motivational attachment that we normally give to them. Of course, it may not be possible for us to accept this overnight. The very practice of self-inquiry, the more we practice self-inquiry, the more it will make us understand its own efficacy. The less we practice it, the less we will understand its beauty. But the more we practice it, the more it will make us understand that first of all, there is nothing that we have to do because there is no one doing it. There is no entity called I. There is no separate power called I. This individual is not a separate entity at all. When there is no separate power to this individual entity, what remains to be done? What can be done by this entity? This entity itself is an illusion. So this awareness will come to us gradually, of course. Bhagavan also says, Payya un veedu kattinai. It will come to us gradually, but it will come. The more we rely on self-inquiry, the more it will become evident to us that the Ishvara Shakti, of course, does everything in a manifest world. But this manifest world is perceived as apart from the self because of the rise of this entity called I. And if this entity emerges, then the recognition would come that everything is only Chit Shakti, everything is only consciousness. There wouldn't be any divisions at all. The awareness that every thought is only consciousness. And of course, the I thought is also only pure consciousness. As a separate entity, it is an illusion. As pure consciousness, everything is the truth. There is nothing that can be untrue because everything is pervaded by this consciousness. This awareness would come to us. And so Bhagavan says that if we practice a method, any method, hoping to attain some goal, then goals will be attained. Adbhuta siddhaya sadhya upayantarataschayaha ta prapnoti bhavatyante vicharenaiva nirpritaha. Even if we achieve great and supreme and beautiful siddhis or goals, if we get to many points in our sadhana, many wonderful points in a sadhana, which Bhagavan calls Adbhuta Siddhi, wonderful achievements, then what happens, he says, after they are all crossed, only through self-inquiry will the release happen. Will freedom from total freedom from bondage will happen only through self-inquiry. He has said this in such certain terms in this chapter on Ramana Gita in answer to Kashni's question, because Kashni is asked, what is the point of doing self-inquiry? And is it okay if we don't do self-inquiry and do something else with our lives? And Bhagavan says, yes, you can do something else with your lives. You may get great success. You may get marvelous successes which people are amazed by. But you will not get complete freedom. That can happen only through self-inquiry. That's what Bhagavan is absolutely certainly saying for us over here to give us the necessary strength to try and pursue self inquiry to the best of our ability. That's all that has to be done to the best of our ability. And that ability, since it is given by Him, He knows that is what we have to do at that moment. So if we keep giving ourselves to it to the best of our ability, from moment to moment, from hour to hour, from day to day, everything is taken care of as it always is by Him. And that revelation too will be given to us by Him. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramana.
Apara Satchit Sukhavarirashi Yasyornimatram Bhuvanam Samastam Guhahitam Tam Ramanam Gabhiram Chintavihiram Hrudi Chintayami Chintavihiram Hrudi Chintayami. Namo Ramana, Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana, Namo Ramana.